Everybody, I'm here with B, and one of the things that B reached out to me about was diaphragmatic breathing and the pelvic floor and abdominal breathing and bracing for lifting and pelvic floor stuff, and asked me for a video about it. And I said that I've been wanting to get to a breathing video about that, and I haven't been able to, so I've got her online, and we're just going to quickly record something and answer some of her questions really quickly. So thanks for doing this, B, and let's get into it. What's your questions about the breathing?
One of them is, should you always intentionally contract your floor with lifts, or is it overdoing?
Okay, so that's a pelvic floor contraction question?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we will get to that, I promise, but with the breathing first, what were your questions about breathing?
Well, they're kind of all pelvic floor and breathing, I guess. I know that there's different types of breathing, so does it matter which one you pick as long as you can lift your floor while you're breathing that way and bracing for load?
That's the short answer, yeah. It doesn't matter to me, so long as you can not bear down through the pelvic floor as much as possible. And when you lift, you're going to have some descent a little bit, but what we don't want is the focal descent, particularly if you're symptomatic. So choosing a breathing style that's going to help you utilize your pelvic floor in a coordinated way is what we're hoping to do. So I was hoping to demonstrate or show what a diaphragmatic breath is versus some of the other breaths that you can do, if you're happy to do that and demonstrate that. Yeah. Cool. So we'll get C to just flip that camera, and he can be our cameraman. Alrighty then. Okay, so just describe to me the diaphragmatic breathing that you want. And C, do you want to just turn that sideways for me? Thanks. Thank you. That's perfect. B?
Yep.
Do you want to describe for me the breathing and how you do diaphragmatic breathing, please?
So, either sitting like I am now or on the floor, just a relaxed breath where I'm filling my belly, filling my back, side, out. Fill for 60 and then out.
Right. Can you turn 90 degrees for us, please, and describe that again, please?
So, relax, breath, not too much, but my belly where everything breaks all the way around.
Right, you're chopping in and out. So what I think you said is that you breathe in, not so much into your chest, but into your belly. Your lower ribs come out and it goes all the way around. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, that is definitely one way to do it, and that is a really, really common way to do it. And it's a way that people use to teach lifting and bracing as well. So when you breathe in like that, what are you supposed to do with your pelvic floor?
You know that when you breathe in like that, the pelvic floor will, as your diaphragm comes down, everything so like pelvic floor shifts downwards, and then when I exhale, it comes back up.
Right, and that is definitely one of the things that can happen in breathing. I think you can train your pelvic floor to do all sorts of things, but that is one of the ways that I would want you to be able to control what's going on in your body. Your pelvic floor descending as you breathe in and your pelvic floor rising as you breathe out. But also you should be able to, because we can't always have the perfect situation, you know, running to scoop up a kid, sometimes you might be breathing in at the time that you need the support. You might be breathing out. Breathing in at the time you need your pelvic floor to lift. So you need to be able to coordinate that as well. Okay, so what's abdominal breathing to you then?
I kind of thought they were the same thing.
Okay, And that's true. So some people will say abdominal breathing or diaphragmatic breathing, and this is why on the message I was like, yeah, but what does that actually mean? Some people will be like, you don't let your ribs move and you only breathe by letting your tummy move. Yeah, which is, again, another way of breathing. And whatever, I'm all about all the breaths. So I like seeing the way that you do all of them. You need to be able to breathe through your chest. So one of the things that I do teach, and I do think I've got a video on this, but anyway, one hand on your chest and one hand over your belly button for me, thanks. What I want you to do is, as you breathe in, can you keep the hand on your chest moving at the same kind of rate that the hand on your belly does? Right. Now, can you keep the hand on your chest? Can you keep that still as you move your belly only when you breathe? Good. Now, can you keep your belly still and only move your chest when you breathe? Good. And so these are some of the components of breathing that you need to be able to do. Because sometimes you're leaning on the cot side, so your belly can't expand out while you're breathing, and you're trying to wrestle a 2-year-old, right? So you need to be able to have all these different types of breathing. See, you might just need to raise the camera just a little bit. Thanks. Thank you. And then with respect to that's just looking at the front. And then you can go look at the sideways of the ribs and your abdomen. It's only a very small area there. And then you can look at what's happening at your back as well and do all the ribs move. And we can get super technical, but the bottom line is that you haven't passed out, you haven't gone blue, so you're doing okay with breathing as far as I'm concerned. Now, with respect to your pelvic floor, what we want is for you to do an even breath. So I like moving the chest and the tummy together. So big breath in and relaxing the pelvic floor as you do that. And then as you breathe out and your hands fall, you can follow that with a gentle pelvic floor contraction. How does that feel?
You froze for a minute.
Oh, okay. So big breath in, hands are even. As you breathe out, you can follow it with a pelvic floor contraction. How did that go?
Good.
Okay. All right. So then what we want to do is, this is in the routine, you want to do the big breath in, you want to breathe out a little bit and a gentle pelvic floor contraction, and then once you've got that, you get ready for your lift. You take a big breath in, breathe out a little bit, and that's when you brace. And you brace by gentle pelvic floor contraction, and then you spread the load all the way around your body.
And when you say spread the load all the way around your body, how do you do that?
Sure. So you know when you lift something heavy, say you're going to deadlift 200, right? 200 pounds, that is. When you go to lift that, you're going to feel a lot of pressure in certain areas. You might feel it in your back, you might feel it in your arms, you might feel it in your grip, you might feel it in your legs somewhere. Wherever it is, it doesn't really matter to me where you feel it. What I want you to do is to take that tension and move it so that it feels more even around the body, so that you and the bar becomes one. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and when you talk about a little pelvic contraction, are you talking 50% or like not squeezing the butt?
Yeah, you shouldn't have to squeeze any muscles when you do a pelvic floor contraction. It varies for different people, but I usually say like halve it, halve it, halve it. So it goes from 100% is the most you can do down to 50%, so that's halve it. halve it is 25, and halve it, so 12.5% or even less.
So you're looking for a 50% or less for the
25% or less, 12.5% or less. Some people need more, but you know, yeah. And it depends. I have to test it, everything. So throw some weights on and let's test it. So one of the things that people will do, and things that we talked about already, not in this video but before, Corey, you have to lift her up a little, thank you, is that some people will teach that 360-degree big abdominal breath and then try to keep wide in your ribs and then squeeze your pelvic floor and lift. Now the problem with that is that you can bear down, so number one, it needs to be tested, and number two, it often doesn't result in a good lift anyway. When you're that expanded, it's too much. There's a sweet spot for everybody, and you just got to learn what that is. Just roll that bar back a little bit for me, thanks B. Ta. Alright. So, what have you got on there? 65?
55.
55. Alright. Pick it up, please. Good. How much thinking are you doing?
How much what?
Thinking are you doing?
Not a lot.
Good, because it's 55 pounds.
Right.
Right. Good. So knock out 5 reps for me. Awesome. Okay, nice and easy. Load up. What are we going to be?
85.
85, good. Alright, let's go. So what are you thinking about?
I know that it's going to be a little bit heavier, so I'm probably going to be a little bit slower. And
with all due respect, that looks like a lightweight for you.
Thanks.
So just pick it up. Yep, rep it out, rep it out, rep it out. Good. How did that feel?
Good.
Light, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I want you to do. You are going to pick up this barbell. We are going to treat this barbell like it's your 1RM. I want you to make sure that you have your feet ground into the ground. You're going to screw your feet in tight. You're going to make sure that those knees stay over your toes. You're going to activate your legs and your glutes. I want you to squeeze your glutes, squeeze your abs, take a big breath in, expand that chest. Lock it down, pick up the bar. Good, put it down. How did that feel compared to the other way?
Lighter.
Right. Lighter in what way?
It came up faster, like smoother.
Good. Now, don't do all of that stuff, right? Just relax, put your hands on the bar, pick the bar up fast. How did that feel?
It's weird, but heavier.
That's fine. That's good. So this time, so I don't know, when you watch this back, you'll see there's a little lag between when you start your lift and when you lift. So you need to become one with the bar, and I suspect giving you all those cues to tighten up your body is what you're used to doing. And you do become one with the bar. So what I want you to do is to go down, take your grip, Now, what I want you to do is to grip it. Now, just lean on it a little bit to take the clink out of the weights. Good. Now, big breath in, breathe out halfway, and lift it. How did that feel?
Good.
All right, heavier, lighter, how does it feel?
Better than before, but like it did the time when you gave me all.
So because you chopped out a bit. So better than before, so better than totally relaxed.
Right.
But similar to how it was with all the cueing.
Yes.
Right. Now, if I can get you to lift with a lot less tension and pressure, you're likely to rep out more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Alright, so don't make 85 look hard.
Don't make them look hard?
No, don't make them look hard. There's no need to squeeze the living daylights out of the bar. You know, absolutely tense up all your muscles. It's 85 pounds.
Right.
What's your deadlift at?
Well, a while ago, it was, my 1 rep max was 205.
Right, 205. So that's that's over 90 kilos, I think. So, you know, that's above body weight.
Yeah.
That's close to 1.5 body weight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So you're not weak?
No.
No.
Not here, but maybe, you know, here.
Well, we're not sure. Well, I'm not sure, right? So, what I want you to do, same thing now. So, big breath in. So, even chest, and when you breathe out, gentle pelvic floor. That's just to wake up the system. Then you don't have to hold on to it.
Okay.
Bend over, pick up your grip. When you're ready, big breath in, breathe out a bit, and then lock it off. Take up the tension, and exactly. That looked easy. That looked like you could have. That looked like you could have cleaned that. That's how easy and smooth it was.
I thought about it for a second.
Okay, clean it. Power clean. How did that feel?
Okay.
All right, make it better. Think about what we just did.
Much better.
Good. So I'm going to give you one coaching tip. It looks like you like to rip off the ground without taking the tension up in the bar first.
Okay.
So lean on the bar and take the clink out of the bar. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you that.
But you need reminding, so it's okay.
Uh-huh. Clink. Yes. There you go.
Oh, that was much better.
Yeah. You
Was
feel
really
that?
good.
So I would change your routine just a little bit. You don't like to grip the bar until just before you lift. I'm going to ask you to grip the bar, pull on it a little bit, then do your breath. Okay?
Yeah.
Just try that.
Yeah.
So grip first, lean on it, then do the breathing. Yeah, that one.
That was good. Yeah. I like that a lot.
Yeah, you're a gripper and ripper.
Yeah.
So smooth off the ground and then accelerate, yeah? So gripping and leaning on it to take the tension out of the plates first will help, and it'll set that tension up a bit better. One more, and then we'll chat. Yeah. It's not even a power clean. That's a muscle clean. That's good, right? It's so easy you can muscle clean it.
Right. Yeah.
Good. All right, let's have a chat. Thanks, C. All right. What did you think? Yeah.
It does make it feel lighter, but it would make sense though, because if everything is firing in the correct order, then it's going to be lighter than if it's not.
Right. So the way that I describe that is that you're trying to backfill an explanation to make sense of what you've just experienced.
Okay.
And it's actually not necessarily because of the order of things. We're just trying to find the things that feel better.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not because you were doing things in the wrong order. We're just trying to find a coordination pattern that works to give you the most amount of strength and power with the least amount of pelvic floor issues. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I would love for you to get your pelvic floor PT to check you internally while you set up with some weight and see what happens. Even if you pretend that you've got 85 pounds there. Most PTs don't have 85 pounds in the clinic. So, you know, you just have to do it in the room and pretend. Or maybe take a 70-pound kettlebell in.
And what do you
Something.
look for if you're going to do that? If that's how you're going to...
Yeah, so hopefully she'll do an upright assessment, and you won't have any clothes on. So then she will assess either looking or feeling to see if you're bearing down when you do those things. So it might be an external or an internal assessment. I obviously only do external assessments, and my clients leave their clothes on. But, you know, it's part of one of the things that I teach on the course.
Is it possible to bear down and not know it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I thought that if I were bearing down, I would know it.
No, women do it all the time, and they don't know. I've had pelvic floor PTs bear down, and they didn't even know they were doing it. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And instead of thinking that they're bad pelvic floor PTs, just realize that your feelings are, your sensation, your feeling, your perception, they're really corruptible and unreliable. And so you can't just go by feel all the time. One thing that you can do is keep the camera where it is, do the Michael Jackson grab. So go feel your perineum right now. Right?
Yeah.
Now, you should be sitting somewhere over the soft tissue of your perineum. Now, do a big diaphragmatic breath and try breathe into your fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Now take your hand away, see if you can feel if that happened.
I can't tell unless if there's like a tactile, like if I'm sitting on a physio ball or if I look for it.
Exactly. So you can't tell.
No.
So now, do the different breath. You know how I taught you to breathe with the chest and the tummy evenly? So put your hand on so that you can feel it. So breathe in, and it's okay to let your pelvic floor breathe into your hand. And then as you breathe out, follow it with a gentle pelvic floor, and it should lift off your fingers a little.
Yeah.
Right. And so then big breath in, breathe out halfway, and then brace.
Yeah. I can feel now, especially after lifting, I can feel when I brace on a half breath
That it does bear down?
Yeah.
Right. So then you want to start with a gentle pelvic floor contraction, support it, and lift it, and then brace around that by spreading the load around, right? So try that now. Try that now.
much better.
Did you brace? I only saw you breathe.
No, I braced.
Are you braced?
Yep.
You braced your whole body? Like you were going to lift?
Kind of hard in this position, but I braced everything that I could.
Okay, so your abs, your chest, your arms, everything. Okay, do it one more time. Just make sure you got it.
It feels more stable, less pressure down.
Perfect. And that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so real quickly, what are some of the other questions that you had?
My one other question, especially being in a gym full of postpartum moms, is how do you know when you're ready to lift? When your body is ready to bear that load? Do you know?
Yeah. I always say that you should check with an internal pelvic PT like the one that you have, and that they test you in upright. I know that some people think that bearing down is enough to tell what's going on, but things seem to be different in upright, and your organs sit and do different things. So I still prefer the upright in the position because your coordination patterns are different as well. So I do like that. And then I do like for the physio, for the pelvic PT, to be able to look for bearing down and look for prolapses and look to see your pelvic floor contraction, to look to see when it would be appropriate for you to go back. Pelvic floor PTs are my go-to over a gynecologist, over anybody else. And there are a handful of, no doubt, I know that there's a handful of occupational therapists who can do it. No doubt there are some chiropractors that do it. But the overwhelming majority of people that I would trust are pelvic floor PTs. And then it's difficult if you're in a small town and you have less options to choose from. But there are some pelvic floor PTs that are unnecessarily sometimes fearful about lifting. And so they're the people I want to come on my course. And so if you're not happy with the person that you're seeing, just find somebody until you find who your teammates are, and get them on your team.
And what about peeing and lifting?
Peeing and lifting?
Yeah.
Yeah, so when...
Some people say, when I lift, I don't pee, so I'm okay.
Right.
Or I lift and I pee, but I feel fine.
Yeah. So just because you don't pee doesn't mean that you're not bearing down. And you could be stretching some tissues that are important, and we don't have the evidence to say what's right and what's wrong. So again, I would defer to a pelvic PT assessment to check for that. If you are peeing while you're lifting, you either have a coordination problem or a strength problem or a different type of problem that's unrelated to those things, and you need to learn a different coordination pattern for that at the very least. And again, that's working with somebody who understands that. So I have somebody see a pelvic floor PT because I don't do it, and then I work with their pelvic floor PT and the information they give me to help my client do what they need to do.
And do you have time for one more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did I answer the first one? I don't remember what the first one is.
My first one...
Oh, contraction, and do you always have to think about it? Was that the one?
Yeah, that was one of them, and then I have one more after that.
Yeah, so contracting and having to think about it, you should be able to progress to a point where you don't have to think about it. So working with somebody is usually the best way to do it. Otherwise, you have to, if you're already symptomatic, you can usually go by symptoms with some caveats. But working with somebody to get rid of that is useful. But if you're in a class and there's limited opportunity to go and individually help everybody, and as a coach, you're not going to put your hands on people's perineums in the gym. So a cue to use their pelvic floor might be useful, but you just need to educate them that they may not, just because they think they're doing it, they may not be doing it in the way that they need to, and that's why pelvic PT assessment is always important.
So like when I was lifting and you told me to do the breath and then the like the little bit of the contraction, is that always how you want to lift all every breath, like if you're doing a high breath workout with over?
So you cut out on the last little bit. So is that how I want you always to breathe and contract? I ask for a little contraction to start with to get the ball rolling, because once you need to lift heavy, you'll notice that you just normally will squeeze your pelvic floor as hard as you need it to. And a pelvic floor PT will tell you if you're unable to do that, and then you have to squeeze harder, which is why I was saying, look, I don't know what percentage it is for you.
Right.
You got to figure it out with somebody, right, what that is. That's why individual assessment's still really important.
Okay. And then I think my last one is I want to ask about, I hear a lot in the gym that I don't pee when I lift or when I jump. My pelvic floor feels fine, but my back hurts later and I have a little bit of a diastasis.
Yeah.
Should people be lifting with unhealed diastasis, or like if you're 5 months postpartum and you still have a diastasis?
I have no problem with it myself, but that's like a whole nother conversation. So the fact that they get back pain later could be many things. It may not be due to the lifting. The diastasis may or may not be relevant in their presentation at all. Yeah, so that's what my project's all about. It's just a project. And that information will be coming out. So the answer is, again, an individual assessment, and then you're just hoping that the people that you're working with are keeping up to date as much as possible as best they can. So a lot of this stuff is just old and not supported by the evidence. So, you know, this whole you shouldn't do anything business is not helpful and not healthy. We got to get, like, you know, something like 2/3 or more people in the Western world don't reach the World Health Organization's physical activity guidelines. So we got to get people to do stuff, and asking them to do less increases their risk of cancer and all sorts of metabolic and other diseases that will kill them, as opposed to a diastasis, which probably won't kill you.
Right.
You know, leaking when you lift but no other time is probably not going to kill you in general, but not lifting at all, not letting somebody lift more than, you know, 10 pounds, 15, 20 pounds for the rest of their life, that might give them osteoporosis and weakness and affect their balance, and they fall, and then there's all sorts of problems, you know. So we've got to keep it in perspective. Cool. Hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for agreeing to film that. So we got some breathing in, we got some pelvic floor questions in. For those who are interested, the mentoring program is online. So if you're interested in that, get on that. And the female athlete course is both online and in person. So check the website for details, and the website should pop up here at some stage. At the very worst, it's at the end of the video. So thanks very much, B, for helping out with that. And yeah, we'll catch everybody soon. Thank you.